This video is going to serve as a quick, honest response to allegations I've seen circle about me on the internet over the past few days. I've made a statement on my Twitter account publicly addressing this already, but I do believe moving forward the best thing to do is to address this to my audience. The statement that I recently put on onto my main Twitter account was very much emotionally charged and written on a whim, so I've gotten past that point and would really like to just be upfront about everything here. A couple years ago, I had a relationship with another YouTuber under the name of Narpe, whom of which recently came out with a YouTube video talking about a Google document that I made a few years ago surrounding his behavior, and going into details about our personal relationship. Considering the age difference was barely above 2 years, I didn't really see much of a moral issue with it back then. Before I go into talking about our relationship, I do need to talk about context, which is the document that I made. A few years ago, back in January 2021, I released a lengthy Google document detailing various amounts of abusive behavior that Max was displaying towards several friends and me at the time. And at the time that I wrote this document, it was the climax of our relationship, when he was being extremely abusive towards me, and I wrote that really purely as a way to try to exit the situation that was ongoing with him. I obviously could have handled this in a much different and better way than a manipulative, one-sided document, and I do apologize for doing that. This document is very manipulative, and it paints our entire relationship to be as if it's one-sided, or that I never gave in or was complicit with this relationship whatsoever. I made several excuses for my actions in this relationship and made it seem like it was not a mutual relationship between the two of us. And for that, I am sorry for that. I did not once call him a groomer or a pedophile inside of this document, but I did include old allegations which very much could have made it seem like that was the case. I personally knew these allegations inside of the document to be false, and they were included inside of it to point out manipulative behavior that he had done towards other people. Obviously, the wording inside of the document could be done a lot better, and I could totally understand how it looks like and how it would totally direct people to believe otherwise. I cannot deny that the effects that this document had on him when it initially published was very devastating for his career. And at the end of the day, the times that I have talked to Max about this specific document, he wasn't against the fact that I made it if it were about abusive and manipulative behavior. If it were a 5-page document going over that, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. The issue that I had in this document was the fact that I never took any real accountability for my parts in the relationship, and again, made it seem like it was completely one-sided when it was very much a mutual thing between the two of us. The next 2 years following this document, there was no resolution towards it, and there is a lot of reasons for that. I want to go ahead and say it up front that I do believe I was just a coward, afraid of my own actions and afraid of my own choices. I shouldn't be like that anymore. I'm a different man now, and I shouldn't be afraid to own the shitty choices that I made when I was a complete degenerate a few years ago. But within seriousness though, right after everything between me and Max went down, I got chugged into the situation with Fire Sale and my real life friends. And that basically took over my life for the year following. I really only got back in contact in around June 2022. And this is right after I had exited everything regarding that situation, when I was very mentally unwell and absolutely not in any position to be talking to anybody, let alone him. Ultimately, my end thoughts on the document that I made almost 3 years ago is that it never should have happened, and I was in zero position to be making a document on him at all. And I regret that a lot, and I am sorry, and I have been for a very long time. I did remove this document years ago myself, as I have not agreed with it in a very long time, but it does not undo the damage that it did to him. I showcased some chat logs from our relationship back then, which are, very degenerate, to say the least. I would like to say that these chat logs are authentic, they are true, and they are me on the other side of the conversation. It is not something that I'm proud of, and I have long grown out of being a degenerate e-sexing people on Discord. I am not at all proud of these conversations, and I haven't been in several years, but I do need to show them to show that I was at one point a very degenerate young man online. I think taking one look at how I used to look 4 to 5 years ago kind of just immediately proves my point and why I feel nothing but ashamed of really everything.
As mentioned, we stopped right before I turned 18, and this took a big toll on me, because I thought that I would be with him after I turned 18, when in reality, that was not the case, and he became distant from me. In January of 2020, I would start talking to other guys, and I would send Keco screenshots to try to make him jealous to get him to take me back. I ended up impulse dating somebody who was 16 at the time, turning 17 in a few months. I broke up with this person in March of 2020, and our relationship only lasted 3 months. I only really dated this person to make Keco jealous.
You gotta understand, this is the very first time I've ever heard him say this to me, was in this YouTube video, so this is kind of a lot for me to take in. I did not become distant from Max, and this is something I need to state here. My conversations with him throughout 2020 clearly show me being there for him, and I did not hang him out to dry or to die. So this idea that I stopped being close to him or I stopped being affectionate towards him at all the second that his birthday ran around is not true, and something that I will deny. I am not trying to shift blame towards him whatsoever. I believe at the end of the day, these are conversations that should have not happened in the first place. And that is entirely on me in the end, as somebody that should have been far more responsible with it. This is something that he himself even stated in his YouTube video, where he talked about that he didn't feel that I stopped because of anything, but really just because of the family situations I had going on at the time.
I don't think he stopped being sexual with me because I had turned 18, but rather at the time there was a family incident and he needed to attend to it. I should have just given him space and moved on myself. However, Keco for the first time made me feel a true connection to somebody, and this had blinded me and hindered my better judgment.
These are situations that I vocalized to him inside of our messages at the time, that he hadn't done anything wrong, and that I was dealing with some seriously personal stuff at the time and wasn't able to provide as much as I used to. I do believe that his mental instability and his unwellness did stem for our relationship not going anywhere. The next thing he did inside of this YouTube video was bring up my relationship from nearly half a decade ago with Miss Keepin, because of one screenshot conversation that I had back in July 2022, something that I've already stated when I was not in the place to be talking to this guy at all. Our age difference is roughly around a 3-year, 9-month age difference. I turned 20 years old shortly after we had begun dating, and it definitely was a very weird look for me almost half a decade ago. I will firmly stand by the fact that I was not intimate whatsoever towards her in this relationship, and we were purely platonic. The relationship itself also did not break any laws, so I have really nothing else to add about it past that point. Throughout this relationship, though, I was heavily defended by everyone inside of the Roblox community when this was ongoing, which made me feel in good company regarding things. The mindset and mentality I had back then was if it's legal, it doesn't matter, which in hindsight was incredibly fucking stupid, but it has been almost half a decade ago at this point. I think this statement that I made several years ago regarding our breakup and our relationship in general is certainly worthy of criticism. I have given honest responses about our breakup to people before that have gone unseen, where the reason we broke up initially was because I was morally uncomfortable by the relationship and recognized that we were both in completely different parts of our lives. Me and Miss Keeping have remained very good friends over the years and have kept in contact ever since that point. And ever since she was included inside of this YouTube video, she's been nothing but stressed about it and wanted no inclusion in it whatsoever. She was not given a heads up, she was not asked. Again, I believe that it is worthy of criticism. I am fine with that. But I just do not think that this video was the place to do. And if you were seriously trying to bring that up as a point, the most and the bare minimum you could have done is just reach out to her or at least give her a heads up beforehand. This idea that is going around that I stopped caring about her the second that we broke up is completely and entirely false and is proven easily by the fact that we still actively talk and are friends to each other.
As I've mentioned previously, I have absolutely no idea about Keco's relationship with Naku or about why it stopped. I also know next to nothing about her. The only point I want to address was his claim of being asexual during this time, which is just completely false.
I did not lie here. I am asexual. What I am, though, is an umbrella term under the asexual category called gray sexual, which is somebody that only experiences this attraction some of the time, but not at all. I don't actively seek sex in relationships. It's not something that's a priority for me, and it never particularly has been. I personally do not have anything else to add from Max's video. I have said my piece regarding all of that. I put out a public statement onto my Twitter account, and this is pretty much all I'm going to say moving forward regarding the situation. I was a degenerate, manipulative person a couple years ago, and I make zero denial or excuses for my actions. I should have known better, and I did end up hurting him in the end from that. And if Max ends up seeing this video by chance, I do want to say that I am sorry for it. I believe I am better suited to be offline for a long time. I don't want a large online platform, and I'd prefer to be to myself to continue working on things. I am not the degenerate loser that I was almost half a decade ago, e-sexing people on Discord like that, but I will say at this point that I did have some issue of accepting accountability in the end. And to Max, I am sorry for that. The path that I have been on has been almost completely offline, and I've been embracing nature and life in of itself to try to improve myself. I've been doing this for the past year and few months now, and that's really the path I want to continue to keep going down. I also found God earlier this year, and I've regularly been partaking in Bible studies since April. I will continue going down the path that I'm on, and if I need to upload anything for myself online, it's going to be on my alternative YouTube channel, where that is my personal outlet that I've had, and is completely disassociated from any sort of Roblox-related communities. I am not the man that I was anymore, but in order to accept that, I must kill the man that I was by publicly accepting my faults.